My boss fired me for being too expensive after 18 years of leading the engineering team. We can get 3 junior engineers for your salary, he said with a smug grin during my termination meeting, as if that somehow justified everything. Nothing personal, just cost-cutting. I nodded, forcing a polite smile, wished them all the best, and quietly packed up my desk. I didn't argue, I didn't protest. But as I zipped up my bag and looked around that office for the last time, a calm voice inside me whispered, "It begins. 18 years. That's how long I had poured my life, soul, and sleepless nights into that company, longer than some of the interns had even been alive. I had built the engineering division from the ground up literally. What started as a tiny corner cluttered, with dusty monitors and forgotten cables, became the very engine room of innovation for the company. I lived through product failures, near disasters, rushed patents, and emergency rollouts that lasted 72 hours straight, and I held it all together, quietly, efficiently. So when I got a calendar invite, labeled simply HR meeting mandatory, I already knew. The meeting room had that stale smell of old laminate and burnt office coffee. Leonard, the CEO, sat like royalty at the head of the table. Next to him was Jenna from HR, eyes glued to a spot on the table. Leonard folded his arms over his gut and gave me that rehearsed look of sympathy. "Mark," he began, with the fake warmth of a politician, "you've been a valuable member of our family. But after careful review, we've decided to eliminate. Your position," I didn't flinch. I didn't move. "It's purely economics. We can hire 3 junior engineers for your salary. It's not personal, just cost-cutting." Jenna slid a folder across the table. Exit documents. Severance terms. A thin sheet of corporate gratitude with Leonard's signature printed at the bottom like a joke. I smiled gently. "I completely understand," I said. "No hard feelings. No visible ones, anyway." I gathered my few things. A framed photo of my late wife, the mechanical pencil I'd used in every product sketch, and my mug that read, "Worlds. Most overqualified firefighter," an inside joke about how often it saved projects from total collapse. Leonard didn't walk me out. I wasn't bitter. Not because I forgave him, but because I had something he could never grasp for sight. Memory and a contingency plan I had quietly nurtured over the years. And as I shut my office door behind me for the final time, I muttered under my breath, "Let the countdown begin." I didn't drive home. Instead, I made my way across town to a modest brick building, plain and unassuming, with a small plaque that read, "Iron Core Solutions, Private Engineering Consultancy." No flashy signage. No glass walls, but inside. Power. Quiet, focused, dangerous power. Because Iron Core was mine 3 years earlier. After Leonard dismissed yet another one of my warnings about data vulnerability in our client servers, I knew I needed options, so I created them. I registered an LLC, built a small team of brilliant freelancers, and started solving the problems other companies left behind. We never poached clients we didn't have to. Word got around. We cleaned up messes quietly and made good money doing it. I entered the office and nodded at Marsamai's second brain. My right hand. She looked up from her screen. "So it happened." Nodded, double quotes, just like we expected, I said. "Leonard said I was too expensive." Marcy let out a low laugh. "He has no clue you're the only reason half his contracts didn't implode." "Exactly," I said, unlocking my laptop and pulling up a file labeled failsafe. Inside it, a decade's worth of documented system flaws, compliance warnings, ignored upgrade recommendations, and fragile infrastructures held together with duct tape and prayers. All of it time-stamped, archived, and attached to Leonard's name. I never sabotaged anything. That would have been unethical. But I kept everything. Every risk ignored. Every protocol skipped. Every reckless decision filed neatly away, and now it was time for the truth to reach the people who mattered most, his clients, his investors, and the government regulators who love a paper trail. Marcy handed me a fresh coffee, still doing the reveal on Wednesday. Call it Freedom Day. Wednesday morning, I lounged in my home office, coffee in hand, when the first email hit. Subject: Urgent system breach detected. It was from NetSecure Compliance, addressed to Leonard and his executive board. I had blind copied myself for fun. NetSecure was the same firm I once recommended to clean up a near-catastrophic leak in the company's client data system. Today, they'd received a neat little dossier courtesy of IronCore highlighting every ignored vulnerability with evidence, memos, screenshots, and templates. Not sabotage. Just overdue housekeeping. By 9:30 a.m., Leonard had called 5 times. I ignored them all. At 10:12, Marcy texted me. He's here, red-faced, sweating, asking if we'd consult short-term. I replied with 2 words. He can't. 'Cause. Halerd Dynamics, Leonard's biggest client and a major defense contractor, was now threatening to pull their multi-million-dollar contract. The same system I had begged Leonard to upgrade was compromised. He had refused, saying if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, now it was broken, and badly. That system didn't just hold Halerd's data. It held records for 5 other major clients, 2 of them federally regulated. One breach meant lawsuits, audits, and frozen projects. By lunchtime, Leonard texted me again. Mark, please, I don't know what's happening. I need your help. You were right. Let's talk. I read it. Then I smiled. What Leonard didn't know was that Halerd Dynamics had already signed a confidential deal with IronCore. Yesterday, after reviewing our proposal one, that included a complete overhaul and protection plan, they made one request. We want nothing to do with green tech moving forward. By Thursday morning, the headline dropped like a missile. Halerd Dynamics terminates contract with Green Tech over data breach. The market responded before opening. Green Tech stock dropped 17% pre-market. 3 more clients lawyered up. Inside, the company panic took root. Marcy messaged again. Emergency meeting and conference. Room 3, Leonard's blaming IT. Total circus. But this time, it wasn't working. You see, before I walked out of Green Tech, I'd sent one last courtesy packet to each board member. Every risk warning I ever submitted. Every rejected proposal. Every dismissive email from Leonard, some of them saying things like, security is just fear-mongering. We don't have the budget to coddle paranoia. When Leonard stormed into that boardroom screaming sabotage, they were already locked, loaded, and done with him. At 10:36 a.m., my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I didn't answer. Then came the message from Marcy. He just got voted out, effective immediately. Formal audit launched. Lawyers were waiting. I sat back and exhaled slowly, like shedding the weight of a decade. Leonard was escorted from the building by 2 execs and a legal rep. He passed the 3rd junior engineer he'd hired to replace Mitha, same one now standing outside with an IronCore laptop in his arms. Welcome to your new reality, boss, I muttered. But I wasn't done. By Friday, Green Tech's legal department was on fire. In less than 48 hours, Leonard's decisions had cost the company over $120 million. But that was just the surface. The real storm had been planned meticulously. Leonard hadn't just fired me, he had violated federal compliance laws, ignored security recommendations, and misused confidential information from a previous acquisition offer. 2 years ago, I began documenting everything, not to destroy, but to protect. Myself, my name, my future. So, when IronCore's legal team asked me to serve as a confidential whistleblower during the FTC's audit of Green Tech, I didn't hesitate. By Monday, the lawsuit was official. IronCore versus Green Tech, citing breach of NDA data, theft, and executive misconduct during acquisition negotiations. Leonard had used proprietary information to undercut IronCore in a government bid. That alone opened the door for a legal nightmare. Even the junior engineers Leonard had hired gave statements. To confess, they'd been pressured to backdate implementation timelines. Within 10 days, Leonard's assets were frozen, his severance was suspended, and the board released a public apology. I didn't give interviews. I didn't post on LinkedIn. I just wanted peace. But I did get one email. No name, just a single line. Was it you? I typed back. You did it to yourself. I just made sure everyone saw. Then I closed my laptop and walked outside into a morning that felt like the first day of the rest of my life. 6 months later, I sat on the balcony of my coastal home, sipping coffee, my rescue dog's tail thumping gently on the wooden deck. The chaos was gone. The company gutted. The FTC fined Greentech $42 million. Leonard and his executive team were banned from C-suite roles for a decade. The company's remains, ironically to Ironcore. Leonard bankrupt his estate, foreclosed, his sports cars auctioned. Rumor was he now lived in a small rented apartment outside Cleveland, teaching basic coding under a fake name. No more smugness, no more power. Just the sound of consequence. As for me, Ironcore honored our agreement with generosity and respect. They invited me quarterly for executive training, valued my input, and even credited me anonymously in their white paper on secure systems. No fame, no spotlight. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I dismantled a tyrant not with rage, but with patience. Not with noise, but with facts. Some men build legacies with ego. Others build them with silence and steel. When Leonard thought he had buried me, he never realized Dai was already standing behind him, shovel in hand, waiting for him to dig his own grave. Was it revenge? Maybe. But it was justified. Tell us, what would you have done? Like the story. Share it with someone who needs this kind of energy. And don't forget to subscribe to Lauren's Stories for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has a reckoning. Stay sharp, stay strong, stay tuned.